All right, everyone. It's a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I assume that you've got it locked in. If you love college football, you're a hardcore college football fan, the smart fan. So this is the place to be for all our content, but especially here on Wednesday night when we go live for 3 hours with college football talk. Leading off with Florida State Seminoles Live with these two fine gentlemen who provide our analysis. We got Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day and Jason Parker from Chop Chat. Boys,
good evening.
Good God, you do love saying our name. I'm not gonna lie.
I love it. Chop Chat.
I got freaked out for a second because you just said 3 hours, and I thought, holy crap, are we really going to be doing this for 3 hours? And I thought, oh, wait, okay, we can talk about that, but we can does it down to 1 hour, I guess.
We will do 3 hours prior to your appearance in the ACC championship game. Let's do that. I'll make that vow to you.
If we do the ACC championship game, I want a full day's coverage.
Full day's coverage.
You know what I was going to do prior to the college football season, and I did not deliver on what was not a promise, but I told people that I would attempt to figure out 24 hours, Mark Rogers TV live for 24 hours nonstop right here. I would see how long I could last.
I'll take a day off work. It's fine. I got sick days.
That's a long day.
Long day, and it's been a long day. I got to tell you, I just did a Facebook Live to promote our show and the other two shows coming up tonight, and I let everybody know I slept about an hour last night, so I'm delirious, so I may make about as much sense as Jason tonight.
We talked about this last week. You need to sleep, okay? For the FSU comeback this season, 10-2 record, we need your sleep.
Yeah, okay. Gotta sleep.
Get into it.
We need too.
That's painkillers talking. I'm sorry, my bad.
And we need sponsors. That's what
we need. Sponsors. Popeye. Shout out to Popeye.
10-2 sponsors. Sleep. Those are all good things.
I've got a championship cup from the good old days of 6 seasons ago. I guess
there it is.
Better keep sipping from it.
Yeah, I keep sipping from that Kool-Aid.
It's water. Don't lie.
From that Willie Kool-Aid that he's one of the top coaches in the ACC.
Taggart train coming through, baby.
All right, so we got Florida State Talk. We invite everyone into the live chat, of course, to give us your comments, your questions, and I will pass that along to our analysts. And, of course, I, from time to time, have a little analysis to pass along myself. We've got the Super Chat available to help you and us as you contribute to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and a number of other promotions that we will let you know about later. I have yet to see this football team play a full game. I hate this. So I was really looking forward to the Boise State opener. I was robbed based on the weather as it was moved to ESPN News. There was no way in hell I was going to watch Louisiana Monroe and Florida State, although I would have loved to have seen the last few minutes in that 45-44 game. And then the Virginia game, I would have loved to have watched that game too. There were no really great games on Saturday night, but another ACC network broadcast, and I couldn't see that. So at some point, I'm going to watch some Florida State football. I did start watching the condensed version of the Virginia game. I read the recap, the box score, did as much research as possible. But starting with you, Logan, I want to know how well this team played on Saturday night, because based on all indications against what might be the second best team in the conference, they were right there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this goes toward, Florida State hurting themselves, kind of putting themselves in bad spots. We saw that in the fourth quarter, and the penalties caused them to do some bad things at the end of the game. I mean, the discipline is terrible. I know Willie Taggart talked about it again. We know we keep on hearing about talking, but the discipline is god-awful. Got guys that have been doing this for 2 years now. They're doing it again, and it doesn't seem like Florida State is getting them right with things that they need to be doing. And that, I think there was 4 or 5 flag or personal fouls at the end of the game, and that put them in a terrible spot. The offense couldn't get clicking. It did there at the end, but James Blackman had a kind of tough game too on his own self. I think there were mental mistakes. I think he'll learn from that. And whenever we preview the Louisville game, I think he's going to have a step forward. But I think he hurt himself quite a bit during that game. It didn't look like himself with the balls he was throwing, low balls, and it kind of made the offense stall a little bit at times. But we saw, there's some improvement there on the defense. I don't think that was big that Leavitt was only there for a few days coming in, so I don't think that was mainly the case from him. So now you have Leavitt coming in as a full week. You'd be interested to see what guys he analyzes and thinks fits better in some position groups. But you still have Leonard Warner out in coverage, and that's terrible. We saw that problem in the first week for Florida State. Some more things need to be fixed, but you did see a little bit of an upgrade there. Florida State does have that D-line unit that can make that push back there, but they cannot hawk down the quarterback. Some slow guys. Joshua Kando is now out for the rest of the season, your best defensive end. So you look to Janarius Robinson. I would look to Briggs, too, a young guy coming in that could make an impact for Florida State's D-line. But overall, I think Florida State hurt themselves. They put themselves in a bad situation. They could have came away from a road win, an upset at Virginia, and that would have been big for them. So now Virginia moves up to 21 in the AP poll, and Florida State's going to try to get to 2-2 this weekend.
What you got for us, Jason?
First of all, I think Logan loved to talk a lot right there because he realizes there's not going to be much words between the ensuing Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, versus Jason Parker, the voice of ChopChat.com battle that's about to ensue right here. So I do appreciate, Logan, you getting your words in.
I had to get them in.
First of all, Mark Rogers TV, voice of college football, I want to clarify this for everyone. We all know that you loved watching Florida State lose. I know that you were at your local establishment. You were checking out the ACC network. Shout out to Dave O'Brien and Tim Hasselbeck. I know it.
Jason, when you say things like that, people actually believe you. And then I
know it's crazy. I know.
I hammered this kind of. I still have a guy who tells me every day, "Why did you pick Michigan to beat Ohio State this year? They're not going to make the playoff." And I'm like, this is based on absolutely no fact. Find me the video where I said this. So people actually believe what you say.
I know you were at the local BW3s in Hartford, Bristol, wherever you are in the state of Connecticut. I think it's the Nutmeg State. I get it. It's fine. You watched FSU lose, so that's fine. I know you appreciate it. So let's look at the one positive. All right, and I know that the haters are loving the fact that Florida State lost. They're waiting to come at me with all their hate, if you will.
I did pick Virginia to go to the ACC championship game, so that does help my prediction.
Mazel tov to you for that prediction right there. And Logan picked Virginia to win the game.
I picked. Remember, my score prediction was 31-24 Virginia. I was 3 points off. That's once again this week getting close. I think this weekend I might hit it.
First of all, Logan, we're done with you for a second. You need a few minutes. Take a breather real quick. So I'm going to look at the positives of this game for a moment. It's a disappointing loss, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's a disappointing loss, whether we're talking about FSU 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or FSU in 2019. Losing on the road to Virginia was a disappointing loss. I think the point where a decent amount of the FSU fans, and we're going to talk about some of the idiot fans who have been coming at Willie Taggart and coming at the program. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I think the decent fans who need to come off the ledge, let's calm down for a moment. Yes, it's a disappointing loss. Yes, it's a loss that should you be pissed off that this team lost their second game in the first 3 games of the season after having a halftime lead? Of course you should be mad. Also realize that this is a work in progress. This is a team who's lost 2 games now by a combined 12 points, as opposed to last season when they lost 2 of their first 3 games by a combined 44 points. There is a step forward. I know the results are the same. It's the same 1-2 record to start the season. The haters against Willie Taggart, the fans who want to hate on FSU right now, that's fine. I get it. On paper, it's a 1-2 record. This is a much different team. This is a road. This team still has 8 wins in it. I still do. Hey, shout out to Kyle Pickett, Mark Rogers VP 2020. This is a team that can still win 8 games. Now, this is also a team that cannot afford to kill themselves. And let's be honest, with all due respect to Boise State, with all due respect to Virginia, Florida State shot themselves in the foot in both those games. It's not that Boise State went out and dominated Florida State. It's not that Virginia went out and dominated Florida State. Florida State lost both of those games. If Florida State continues to shoot themselves in the foot, they're destined for another 5-7 season. If Florida State can play a complete game, if Florida State can play the way we know Florida State is capable of, if the defense can wake the hell up and play like the defense, play like half the defense that we know Florida State has on that roster, there is a chance that Florida State can be an 8-win maybe even stretch it to a 9-win regular season team. But I think 8-4 right now is still a very, very reachable goal at this point. So everyone, let's take a calm down. Let's take a breath. Let's focus on Louisville. 2-2. Hopefully a win over Louisville, then a win over NC State. A certain game against Clemson that we'll just skip over real quick and be 3-3 at that point. But who knows? They've played Clemson tough the last 2 times up there in the state of South Carolina. So there's still so much to play for, and there is so many positives through the first 3 games. The record is still the same, but the positives are completely out there that everyone just needs to calm down. Just everyone. Woosah. Woosah.
So it's already been brought up, Jason, leading into one of our subjects for tonight. Kyle Pickett is asking about when a quarterback change may be coming.
I don't know where he may have read that on ChopChat.com earlier this week. But look, and we've written about that, and there were a decent amount of fans who said yes, it's time for a new quarterback. There's also some, how dare you want to bench James Blackman. Look, I support James Blackman. I think James Blackman should be the starting quarterback against Louisville. I think James Blackman should have to play himself out of the job before Alex Hornibrook gets a chance. With that being said, you cannot argue that the last 2 games, the last 2 second halves against Louisiana Monroe and against Virginia have been an utter disappointment. And I believe that James Blackman has been a decent reason, especially against Louisiana Monroe. He's responsible for 2 of those touchdowns that sent that game to overtime. Otherwise, it's just a sloppy win, and it's not a win that people are going to be criticizing us for. I think against Louisville, if the same thing happens, a strong first half, and you see him start to struggle in the second half, I think you have to have the conversation, is it time to give Alex Hornibrook a shot? He did not grad transfer from Wisconsin just to sit on the bench. He is a good quarterback. He is a quarterback who this is a man we've talked about, was 1 game away from the college football playoffs in 2017 and dog stomped on, you're Miami, you're 1-2 as well with your Will Spaghetti icon. But anyway, we'll move on from that.
They beat Bethune-Cookman, though.
They did, and we'll talk about that, about how their fans are a little too hyped about beating Bethune-Cookman. We can rag on Miami in a moment. But back to my point, Alex Hornibrook is a quarterback who is a decent quarterback. He obviously has done things right for a reason. Once again, has he earned the starting job? No. Has he earned a shot if Blackman continues to struggle in the second half? I think it's time to throw that idea out there. Hi, Cheryl J.
That's an interesting topic that I got a lot of questions on before on our Instagram live show about, does there need to be a change at quarterback? I don't think so yet, kind of like how Jason's saying. James Blackman is first overall biggest leader on the team. He's known these wide receivers more and longer than Alex Hornibrook has, throwing routes with them during the offseason and years past. He knows these guys the most. He knows he's been at Florida State longer. Hornibrook just got here. And I want to bring up a stat too. And, this is stats, doesn't go with wins or whatever, but this is from Derek Shutterfield from Florida State. He put out a list saying the complete list of Florida FBS quarterbacks with at least 3 passing touchdowns in 3 separate games this season. James Blackman, Tua Tagovailoa, whatever. I don't care what.
A for effort.
I'm gonna say Tua. I'm gonna say Tua from Alabama, Jalen Hurts from Oklahoma, Sam Ehlinger from Texas, and then you have Anthony Gordon from Washington State. So I know, and the main struggle for James Blackman so far, you get the first half going a little bit, but then the second half is kind of a problem. Although there was some trickles of some mistakes happening in that first game in the first half against Virginia. I think the main thing for him is fixing some of these mental errors that are going through with him, which, we didn't see these kind of throws happen this much with James Blackman. And he was missing quite a bit of them, some easy throws. Of course, there's some guys that are dropping some balls on him that isn't putting him in a great situation either. You got to kind of keep an eye on that too. But keeping him protected back there, he did miss that shot to Tamarion Terry. And that's a big one. That's a huge one. Those are the kind of things where, that will get you in some big trouble if you're missing that kind of shot where that's a guaranteed touchdown from your best wide receiver. It's Tamarion Terry. Another thing is, which I think will help Blackman, where's Tamarion Terry at? Is he still on the team? Has he been let go? Or has he transferred? If he's got any kind of one-on-one, I don't know if Bryles has got to talk to him or whatever, but if he's got any kind of one-on-one situations, you've got to throw it to Tamarion Terry. We saw how well that worked for Florida State last year. Go ahead and do it. I don't care how many times you got to do it during the game, but it's got to be amped up quite a bit because we haven't seen much of that until they got desperate against Virginia. But that's got to be something that's got to change because you got to utilize that kind of talent, and you got to do it now in order to get those explosive plays.
My comeback to that would be, I feel like, and before we turn this back over to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Just keep going.
Yeah, I think that the thing with James Blackman though is, and you know, Noel Game Day, you guys are great. You guys were on the James Blackman bandwagon. You know, our people over here, Chop Chat, were on it to a certain extent. And my comment was, yes, last season he had a great game, 400 plus yards in the start against NC State. But it was also against an NC State team that was, once again, 115th against the pass defense. I feel like that skewed a lot of people's thoughts about James Blackman. This is the mistakes that James Blackman is making in the second half were the same mistakes he made as a freshman. And it was, okay, he's a true freshman. He's coming in here. He's 1 year out of playing high school down here in Palm Beach County, down in South Florida. This is the point where now we're talking about this is 2 years later. You're a redshirt sophomore. You're 3 years in the program. I get that it's a different offense than what you signed on for when you came in under the former head coach of the Seminoles. You can't be making those same mistakes. The Trey McKitty pass, where you're sitting there, you're not having your feet set. You're throwing it completely to the point where Trey McKitty is trying to stretch out and can't even bring it. Sorry, not to make it stretch that with broken wing. But those are the mistakes that in 2017 as a true freshman, I'll give you, a mulligan on those mistakes. In 2019 as a redshirt sophomore, 3 years in a program, those are the mistakes you can't be making. So if you're going to be the leader, if you're going to be the man, I get Tamarion Terry needs to step up. I get the receivers need to step up. You're James Blackman. You're the leader of this team. You're the one who's supposed to be the quote-unquote savior of the season. I need that for all 60 minutes. It can't just be, we got to lead at halftime. I had a big first half. Now I'm just going to chill out. It's got to be the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's got to continue throughout the rest of the game too. It seems in it, I don't know, about the third quarter or something, and a little bit of the second quarter sometimes, those 2 quarters, Florida State gets so trickled out on their offense. It just seems like they're confused at times, or they're trying to do too much, and it's a quick 3 and outs, and I'm sure we'll get to how much time the offense is having on the field. But it just seems like something's not clicking there. I think James Blackman, in my opinion, and we saw before, we talked about even before the season started, he does better at reading the defense and sitting back. Bryles is wanting to run some quick throws, intermediate routes to the wide receivers, and that doesn't seem to work so well. Those are things that you can fix, though, if you got a quarterback that wants to learn and get better, and that's something that is an advantage for Florida State with James Blackman. But they've got to figure out a way that offense can move a little bit longer, because defense isn't having time to even get a sip to drink or to breathe, and definitely not be able to get talk about assignments that they're missing and go back and talk to call the box up in the stands to figure out what's going on wrong and get the reads right.
2 things real quick. Number one, Danny H. Logan must not drink. He's always makes more sense than Jason. I haven't had a drink in 2 months. Number one. And Logan has a natty ice.
Yeah, I can't say anything.
So number one, Danny, you're also the person who said Florida State would go 2-10. So I'll bet you the liquor of your choice that Florida State gets more than 2 wins this season. You're going to lose that bet big time. That's number one. And I'm so drunk on water, I completely forgot the second thing I was going to say. No, I do remember, actually. It was Tim Hasselback. Was it Tim Hasselback or Matt Hasselback who called the game? It's one of the Hasselback.
Matt. Let's get that correct. I think I got it for you. Matt.
Okay, for the Fighting ACC Network. Yeah, call your cable providers if you don't have that. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, NC State game next week. Can't wait. Can't wait to actually be there at the game and not have to watch on the ACC Network. Moving on. Though, but he did hit the nail on the head, though, and he said exactly what you said there, Logan, is you're sitting there running a fast-paced offense. And the problem with running a fast-paced offense is if you don't have a defense that can be just as fast-paced on defense and is prepared for that, then these are the problems you're going to run into. That's the problem. Jason is full of excuses. Don't give me lip win some damn games. Kyle, I agree with you. I am pissed off. As a Florida State grad, class of 2006, shout out to Tallahassee, I'm pissed. I get that I am pissed off that the team that I grew up watching, the school that my parents went to, they gave the two children of immigrants, both of my parents are immigrants, came to this country, were able to get a college degree from Florida State. I am pissed off that we are 1-2 for the second straight season. Is it the end of the world? No. I'm still. If Florida State goes 1-11 this season, I'm still going to be damn proud to be a graduate of Florida State. Just like Logan's going to be damn proud to be a student of Florida State and a future grad, hopefully, of Florida State.
He gave you a vote of confidence there, Logan.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, hopefully, geez.
I'm going to sound like the older brother here. You graduated, you're going to class. But also at the same point, it's being realistic about the fact that, A, it's not the end of the world. There's more important things, number one. And number two, this is not the same FSU team as the 90s. Stop watching the Bowden dynasty that the ACC network keeps portraying. Bobby Bowden's not walking through that door. Peter Warrick's not walking through this door. This is the 2019 Seminoles. This team is going to finish 8-4. Hopefully they finish 9-3. This team is going to be just fine as long as they beat Louisville this week. Now, next week, if they lose to Louisville, I'll freak out like the rest of you.
But that's almost the point, Jason. They're not the 1990 Seminoles. They're supposed to be the 1990 Seminoles. And not that a program doesn't have a down year or two, but now we're working on 7-6 and 5-7, and who knows what's going to happen this year. So we're working on 3 consecutive bad seasons.
100%. And let's also remember, and I've had people say, oh, well, when are you stopping blaming Jimbo Fisher? I'm sorry. Let's look at these players who are making the mistakes. Dontavius Jackson, I'm sorry, who recruited him in here? I believe that was a Jimbo recruit. I believe many of the problems that we have, I'm sorry, Stanford Samuels not being able to stop a cold in the secondary, I believe he was, a Jimbo Fisher recruit. Willie Taggart is taking a lot of the blame for things that he had nothing to do with before he even came to Tallahassee. Now, does he get more of the blame if this season is another losing season? Absolutely, 100%. Because now you're starting to get more into the Willie Taggart years. But is this still Willie Taggart's team? No. This team is being led by players that were recruited by the previous administration. The previous administration that bolted, made that a dumpster fire, and then bolted. But once again, this is Willie Taggart's fault, right? That's what the haters, that's what that idiot, for example, the idiot in Tallahassee who uses his kid as a pawn to try to raise money for a buyout of Willie Taggart's contract, and that you only raised $400. Congratulations. You were just about, $20 million short? Good job, idiot. I don't care that you're an FSU grad. I don't care that you're a big money boost for the program. You're an idiot for using your kid as a pawn. And let me pull up the quote where he used his kid as a pawn and said, "At 4, I am already starting to gravitate toward the color orange. If a 1-2 start to the season makes you want to go root for, Clemson, Florida, Miami, go. You're not the fans that we need in Tallahassee. The fans we need are like Mark Ziegler, the professor at FSU, one of my professors when I was in school there, who has led this Do Something Positive campaign. This is what we need. We need fans out there. We need thousands upon thousands of fans out there doing the tomahawk chop in Garden Gold, 3:30 Saturday against Louisville. This is the fans that we need. We need support for this program right now. And if you're not going to support it because the first full-time black coach is 1-2, then you know what? Screw you. Go root for the Gators. We don't want you.
I appreciate all the people that have signed up in the last few days for my weekly college football predictions. The Week 4 predictions will be out on Thursday.
You're picking
you can sign up for those a few different ways. You can go to the link below. It's not going to be right there right this second because we're on a live stream, but you go to any of the videos and you can grab the link next to Voice of College Football Community, sign up. You can also go over to betnow.eu if you use the promo code MRTBCFB, and that link is below in the video description section as well, next to the hashtag support. It's been a long time since I've spit this out. It's actually Sam Strong is the hashtag, Sam Strong, and you use the promo code MRTBCFB, and you get double your money there at betnow.eu. Again, get my predictions there at Voice of College Football Community.
You're picking
Yeah, buddy.
Louisville, aren't you? He's going to pick Louisville. You watch it this
I
week.
got to see that spread. Got to see that point spread.
Wants to see the spread.
It's a nice spread, nice salami and provolone. It's a nice anti-pasta spread.
Is it a nice little spread there? Okay,
Fun
tasty
spread.
little spread. I took Florida State and 7.5.
Ooh, so
And
close.
Virginia.
So close.
Yeah, so close. I'm a winner.
No, you just,
Got that one.
Wait, Jason, you picked Florida State last weekend?
I did. I said 27-24, and I was so close.
Yeah.
The whole touchdown thing at the end.
Oh.
Other than that, I was almost there.
So what are we? We're all you're one behind me now? Behind me and Mark, maybe?
Wow.
If we're going straight up, I actually have I took Florida State to beat Boise State, and then I took the two winners the last 2 weeks. I'm 2-1.
Me too.
Straight up 2-1.
I'm 3-0 with my heart.
Nah.
3-0. Of course you are. Of course you're 3-0.
Yeah.
3-0. 1-3 in record. 1-2 in record. 3-0 in my heart.
Mm-mm. I wonder how the situation with DJ Matthews too, something to keep an eye on in that scenario, because before going into the game, we got word that he would not be traveling with the team. That was kind of a rumor throughout the week, but it seems like with him, it's one of those which I didn't see coming, to be honest. The ego thing was there with him in his head, and I found it just shocking to me because James Blackman is also roommates with DJ Matthews. And so I didn't see this coming really at all, but he was not allowed to come with the team to face Virginia. Keyshawn Helton was his main sub that came in and played, which Keyshawn Helton has shown some upside for Florida State's offense, and James Blackman seems to connect well with him. But DJ Matthews, I believe, is still with the team and is at practice. There was some rumors that I was hearing before the season started that DJ Matthews was actually interested in transferring from Florida State before the season even started, actually to a playoff caliber team in the college football. So something to keep an eye on. But I believe he was he at practice? Or do you want to say bye-bye to DJ Matthews?
Yeah, I'm sorry. DJ Matthews is another example of a recruiting stars over talent. That is that's going to be Jimbo Fisher's on his tombstone. Recruiting stars over talent, the Jimbo Fisher story. This is Jimbo Fisher leaving the dumpster fire because he recruits stars who aren't going to play. And I've said this before. Give me 3-star players who are going to show up and play over 4 and 5 stars who are more interested in making their highlights. DJ Matthews is a talented player. If he wants to leave, go. If Logan Tyler wants to allegedly be involved in DUIs instead of focusing on playing football, kick his butt off the team.
Why don't we talk some defense, boys? Because Jim Leavitt was hired, and not as the defensive coordinator, but that's the speculation now. And also, you guys mentioned that Kando's out for the season. So where's the pass rush going to come from? It has to be manipulated to some degree. That's the most important aspect of a defense, other than tackling, is getting some pressure on the opposing quarterback, and they're going to have to manufacture that somehow.
I see now. I haven't been that impressed with Leonard Warner this year, and it looks like there's going to be a change for him this week and the position group. But I liked what I saw against Boise State with how continuously they were getting to the quarterback and annihilating him. And I really liked the blitz packages that were being called with Levante Taylor coming out from the side. Also, I'd like to see a little bit more of Becker. He's kind of a little bit more of the lengthy type. He's a track guy. He's not your biggest dude, but he still is able to grab onto the quarterback and sling him down whenever the offensive lineman is coming after him. So that's going to be, like I said, Briggs too is another guy. There's a lot of young guys. Another guy that's kind of shocked me with how much playing time he's had this season is Cedric Wood, a local product here out of Tallahassee. It went to Godby. Cedric Wood has been getting a lot of burn, number 49 for Florida State. And what we're seeing is, Florida State can get that push. They got 3 massive defensive linemen there. But once that quarterback leaves the pocket, they can't catch him worth a damn. Janarius Robinson is slower than ever, and it's understandable. He's massive, but they can't get anybody over there. There's nobody with quickness. Even I feel like Mario Edwards was even faster than some of these cats. And Mario Edwards was pretty big, but just too slow to get to the quarterback. They'll make a push, but they can't grab the quarterback. And as we saw with the guy that can actually run a little bit too, it's very hard for Florida State's defense to bring him on the ground, or you'd have sack after sack after sack because they were making a push with Durden. Durden's had a nice start to the season. Marvin Wilson does his thing, it seems like every week, but they make the push. The quarterback just runs off to the side, and he's got an extra 3 seconds to figure out where his wide receiver is or figure out where he wants to run with linebackers that Florida State doesn't have right now.
And we've seen the same, and I, we've written about this before on Chop Chat. I know they've written about it over at Noel Game Day. It's the same story over again on the defensive side of the ball. The first half, you go out there, you play essentially a 4-3 defense. You're putting pressure on the quarterback, pressuring on the running game, and you guys are looking like hellraisers, and they're looking like a great defense. The second half, and this one was also in part due to Kando's injury, when you go back to more of a 3-4, you've got all these athletes playing out there in the field, and you're just giving up offense. You're giving up chunk yards, big plays that you were stopping in the first half. So with Kando being out, this is going to be the question. You lose a defensive end. Is this going to be more of a 3-4 defense the rest of the way? If so, that's a huge problem. This is a defense that needs to pressure. This is a defense, you've got studs, you've got athletes, you've got guys who can get to the quarterback. In that Boise State game, they were putting pressure on the true freshman quarterback, and it was working. This is where you have to do this, especially with Louisville, with a running quarterback. This is going to be something. If you can contain him, you're going to be fine. If you play that 3-4 defense, you are going to be in serious trouble. So this is going to be the question. How much influence will the future the defensive analyst, Jim Leavitt, put on Harlan Burnett to stick with a 3-4? And are guys like Dennis Briggs going to be able to step up there?
We'll keep an eye on it for sure.
And see, I'm sorry, I have to stress this, and I've said this before. Eli, I get it. Jimbo won a natty. He won a natty with – I'm sorry, Logan and I could have coached that team to at least a 10-win season. That was one of the stacked teams player-wise in the history of college football. Jimbo Fisher is an overrated coach. I'm not saying he's the worst coach, but he is overrated in the credit that he gets. He left out a dumpster fire. He recruited these players who were sitting there committing penalties. Dontavius Jackson committing stupid penalties 2 weeks in a row. This is the mess that Jimbo left, and this is what Willie is being forced to clean up. When Jimbo was getting smoked by 37 to Oklahoma, nobody said anything. When Willie gets smoked by teams, it's automatically fire him. Willie is getting unnecessary criticism that Jimbo never got, and that's the problem. And we won't talk about
what was the team?
What's that?
Jimbo's Florida State team got smoked by what team?
Oklahoma. Yes, and I'm sorry.
Oklahoma.
Right, and he got smoked by Oklahoma.
And goes to the college football playoff on a regular basis.
Let's see. I'm sorry. They beat your home state UConn in the Fiesta Bowl that season in 2010. Jimbo, let's see, also lost to 3-9 Georgia Tech. Lost to NC State after having.
And his team that lost to 3-9 Georgia Tech went what that year?
They went 10-3 that season.
And finished in the top 10 and won the Orange Bowl, right?
Peach Bowl that they ended up not getting.
I think that was the Orange Bowl team that beat Michigan.
Criticism.
We need to get other Florida State analysts on here. Do we? We need to.
Oh no!
I believe I'm right on that.
When we do Kent State coverage on Wednesday at 11:20 p.m., we'll bring you on to talk about the Fighting Golden Flash.
All right. Let's not compare Jimbo Fisher and Willie Taggart at this stage of the game. Maybe that's a comparison we could make 10 years from now. And I agree with you that Jimbo Fisher is not at the status. He may be at the status, but he's not as good a coach as others that we've seen win national championships recently. He's not Urban Meyer. He's not Nick Saban. He's not Dabo Swinney. But he won a national championship. He took a Florida State program that was winning 7 to 9 games a year at the end of Bobby Bowden's run, and he won a national championship. Got to the offensive coordinator. Had a great program for 3 or 4 years.
Who was the offensive coordinator the last 3 years under him? It was Jimbo Fisher. So with all due respect, any offensive woes goes to Jimbo Fisher. Once again, Jimbo Fisher gets too much credit and not enough criticism for where FSU is right now at this point. And you have to admit that he gets too much credit for the 2013 team, and he gets not enough blame for leaving this an absolute dumpster fire before he bolted for a big payday at Texas A&M.
Any coach that wins a national championship is going to be given full credit for that national championship, whether they build the program or not. And we also have to understand the distinction I may make between Jimbo Fisher's last team at Florida State and Willie Taggart's first 15 games at Florida State is that the record isn't that much of a difference. Jimbo went what? They eventually went 7-6. He was 5-6, 6-6. But they were not getting manhandled week after week. They were competitive the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
I looked back at that game log. They lost. They got blown out once. Boston College blew them off the field. Other than that, they were very competitive. They were playing near Florida State level football. They were taking the Clemson team that went on to the college football playoff, and they took them to the last 5 minutes of the game. They were playing very competitive football. They looked prepared, inspired until the end of the season versus what we saw last year, and this is continuing into this year. Now, the Virginia game, there would be a more than a thread of hope based on the way they played on the road against a pretty good, I would say, top 25 to 30 team.
Let's also look at that 2017 season for 1 second and realize that they beat Syracuse based on the Orange missing a field goal that would have sent the game to overtime. They beat Wake Forest
but they were
on a Hail Mary touchdown. They beat Wake Forest on a Hail Mary touchdown with 40 seconds to go, and they beat Duke on a fourth quarter touchdown by Cam Akers. Those are 3 wins by a possession each. So I'm sorry, that 2017 season could have been a 10-loss season if you want to look at it. Or sorry, it would have been a 9-loss season because they wouldn't have had to reschedule the Louisiana Monroe game. That's the only reason that team was bowl eligible that season. Now, does Jimbo Fisher, if that team has a losing record, if he doesn't cut bait and leave and that team has a losing record, are people going to sit here and give him the same venom that they would give Willie Taggart? No. Willie Taggart gets not enough. He gets too much blame for stuff that he has nothing to do with. Now, if they have a losing record this season, if the sky falls and they have a losing record this season, I will absolutely say that Willie Taggart should be on the hot seat 100%. What I am saying is that I think that he, after 15 games, is being given too much criticism for the dumpster fire that was left by the previous administration.
Jimbo Fisher was being given the benefit of the doubt based on the equity he had built up, much like we see Eli Manning getting benched this week. But are we talking about Eli Manning being one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL? No, we're not talking about that necessarily. We're talking about him being one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL who was able to hang on to his job for a while based on all the equity he built on from being a clutch player who won 2 Super Bowls with 2 game-winning touchdown drives.
Playoffs.
So he had equity in the bank, and therefore he was given a longer stretch, a longer string, whether right or wrong. And Jimbo Fisher was only given 1 bad season. He only had 1 bad season at Florida State, and relatively speaking, a bad season, 7-6 bowl win. I know he wasn't around for the bowl win, but the team finished at 7-6 with a bowl win. That was his worst season.
Listen, let's talk about equity. I live in South Florida where Miami fans are still, the Kings fans are living off 2001 and the Dolphins are living off a Super Bowl in 1973. So we'll talk about equity.
I'm talking about the same person being involved and being given credit after building up equity and then having a downtime.
That 2013 team was arguably one of the best college football teams in the history of the game, at least the last 30 years, if not longer.
Sure. Who recruited them?
I think it's the best college football team ever when you look statistically. It's the best college football team ever. That's why I'm saying I think he gets too much credit. He gets too much credit for that team because that's a team that I think Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, could have coached to a decent record. That's a team that if and I'm sorry, if Jameis had been suspended during the investigation into the sexual assault allegations, that team still would have won those games because they were such a stacked team.
They almost
could have done that.
They almost had Derwin James and Dalvin Cook on that 20 and that team too, which would have been absolutely scary too, having them. And which Dalvin Cook, as we know right now, is. If we saw it coming as FSU fans, we know how good Dalvin Cook was and is. But whenever he's healthy and he can show the rest of the NFL what he can do, this is what happens, leading rusher and going into week 3 of National Football League. And I was going to mention too, what are we at, like 120 people and only 23 likes? I'm not understanding.
No,
I don't understand that either.
I'm not understanding. We're only.
Let's give Dalvin Cook credit. Dalvin Cook helping the one-arm bandits to a win last week here in fantasy. Let's congratulations.
There we go.
Shout out to Broward County Seminole Club for the watch party.
Where's the like thing?
I'm not understanding 122 on the line and what the number of likes, 23 likes, 122 people on the line.
Did I just walk behind Logan?
I'm guaranteeing that 400 people have cycled through this live stream, and I'm guessing more than 23 have liked the video in their mind, but did not respond by liking the video with the click of the mouse.
Are we going to completely ignore the fact that a cat just walked behind Logan? Are you in the middle of the forest in Tallahassee? Where are you?
There's live animals. There's live animals always with me at all times. Here's one right here. This is Gilly from a character from Game of Thrones. She likes to show her face sometimes. Let's see if she'll show it. There it is.
What's her name again?
Her name is Gilly. It was a character from Game of Thrones, but she likes to show her appearance. But I mean, now we have pets on here too and animals, and we still don't have 50 likes.
Yes. Can the cat lovers please respond?
Where are the cat lovers?
What the hell is going on here? All right, Danny H. Listen, we'll talk about drunk. To even think that Louisville and Florida State only scored 24. Danny H., you are drunk. Go home. You're drunk. You obviously spent too much time at your local watering hole. Come on, Danny H. Let's get with it. Lamar Jackson is no longer eligible to play at Louisville. He's currently dominating for my Baltimore Ravens. Shout out 2-0. Just saying.
What about if there was a like button, a dislike button, but then an eye rolling emoji for you, Jason? How many do you think you would get by the end of each?
We would dominate. Let's make that happen. Mark Rogers TV, Voice of College Football. Make that
Talk
happen.
with YouTube and see if there's any kind of thing you can get going there. But we still need 8 more likes. Oh, Eddie likes.
I'm able to get conversations going with YouTube, dialogue between Mark Rogers TV, the Voice of College Football, and YouTube. Believe me, that's going to be somewhat down the list of requests.
Hey, George, how's your quarterback? Does he have 2 ankles? Has he got a nice wheelchair, a scooter? How's he walking around Gainesville this week? Oh, that's right. He can't. He has 1 ankle.
He's got 3 wins.
He has 3 wins. Great. Yes, he came back to beat Miami, came back to beat Kentucky. Wait, no, he has 2 wins. I'm sorry. Felipe Franks doesn't get credit because he was busy crying going off the field.
Well, the team has 3 wins.
Damn. They're coming through now. Here we go.
Shout out. I know what it's like to have a broken wing here. I get it.
Oh, but are you playing quarterback for anyone?
I should. I mean, I'm left-handed. I could probably do it. I could throw an actual ball better than Tebow. Yeah, shout out. I can actually throw a spiral left-handed.
Oh, man, that's hilarious.
Praise God.
We can always count on Kyle. Thanks, Kyle, for the VP vote.
Is he your nephew? Is he your cousin? What family member is he that he always keeps blowing you up here? I'm just wondering.
And how about Mike? Is Mike another family member?
I'm trying to figure out what's on his hat. What does that say?
Yeah, what's up? Brothers looking. Brother. I don't know. Something. Doak Campbell, maybe?
I don't know. It looks just
Tallahassee, Doak Campbell.
That's okay, it looks just country enough to sound like Tallahassee. I appreciate that, man. Shut up.
I'm willing to ignore the misspelling of my name as long as people are properly identifying me there. So we appreciate that.
Jason,
and,
exactly.
I love Jimbo and Jason. You have made some awesome points. See? Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I'll see you at the cookout later. Appreciate it.
Oh, unfortunately, J Jobs had a great quote and I missed it. And if I miss it, then I can't come back and get it because he was admonishing you, Jason, to respect the voice of college football. That's what
I have mad respect for you. Shout out to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I'm just saying you're wrong on a few things. Why do you allow Jason to speak blasphemy on Jimbo Fisher? Because he's overrated. He was an overrated head coach. And what happened when he lost his assistants who brought in those great classes? Oh, and he had to go out and recruit himself. Oh, this is what happened. He worried about 5 stars from other states. He worried about not recruiting South Florida. And look what happened. This is what happened, guys.
I wonder, I'm trying to think about other things that we met, like, Joshua Kando's out for the rest of the season. Some highlights, some good things. Jeff Sims lit it up this last Friday night. Jalen 9, your running back commit, lit it up recruiting wise. I'm trying to look for some positives happening this week.
The positives are this week we're going to beat Louisville. That's not sounding cocky. That's not sounding conceited because Louisville is a much better.
Are we going to give our predictions?
Let's get to this point right here because I think we're getting close to the point. I think we can talk about the Louisville game.
We've got a few minutes here. We've got a few minutes, so I'm going to set us up for the stretch run, which will include predictions, but also one other thing I want to hit you guys with. And again, this is Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe. And if you're coming across my channel for the first time, then certainly dive into the videos first, and then I hope that you will find that it's of much value. All right, we got Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day, Jason Parker from Chop Chat, talking Florida State football each and every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and we believe that we can get the viewer count. Maybe if actually Florida State would win some games, maybe the viewer count would go up. Maybe I could get some cooperation from Florida State.
Oh, listen to that guy from Ohio talking smack. OHIO.
All right. Before we get to predictions, Florida State played its first conference game. They lose to Virginia 31-24, had a lead much of the game. So I'm going to kind of go through some numbers and get your take on who can really play on this team. Who are the best players on this team? More people are going to be watching once they line up against Miami, once they line up against Clemson, of course, when they line up against maybe an NC State and some other teams and actually get on a network that some of us can see. And so, Logan, you had commented not enough targets to Tamorrion Terry, who had 4 catches for 78 yards, the same as Trey McKitty had 4 catches for 70, Keyshawn Helton 5 for 34 and a touchdown. What needs to happen in the passing game? You talked about Terry getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you like to see targeted here?
I'd still, of course, Tamorrion Terry be my leading guy. I think this kind of goes with what you're talking about, the passing game. I'd like to see some more deep shots. One of James Blackman's best capability is having a deep ball that's pretty on point for most parts of the game. It's accurate. It's long. He can even pump fake before throwing it, and it still hits it right in the hands 50 yards down the field. James Blackman, if he can get some – if the Kendall Browse would like to run some deep routes for him, that would be nice for him to throw to because that's what he's the best at. I don't think he's that great with doing some quick throws and hitting the intermediate routes are things that James Blackman isn't the strongest at right now, and he might be getting better at it. But targeting Tamorrion Terry would be great. Keep Keith Gavin out of the game unless you need him there for blocking. Warren Thompson, too, is going to have to work on his blocking in order to get some more playing time. We saw some good things out of Ontario Wilson, but he's still learning. He's got to get his catching rate up. I'm trying to think of course, you have Keyshawn Helton with DJ Matthews out, but Keyshawn Helton has been a big flash the entire fall, the fall camp and into practice and also spring. I think James Blackman and him connect well, and you got to get him the ball a little bit more too. I think also you got to start adding Kalen LeBourne into some sets where you give him some open space to work with. The screens never work. I mean, I don't know how many more times you got to see it. It's not working worth a damn. The one thing that's so funny to me is where Florida State's all the way on the right hash mark, and they're throwing it all the way to the left, and it gives the DBs so much time to get back there and get the receiver. It makes no sense whatsoever to me, and that's got to be fixed. It's just a waste of a down, and they've got to figure out a way to do that. I would rather throw that to Kalen LeBourne out in a bubble screen or something, throw it there and let him work in open space against somebody because that's where he's best at, and keep Cam Akers there right next to James Blackman because we really haven't seen what do they call it, a pony set where you have 2 your running backs next side by side the quarterback. Have that there, utilize that to your advantage. I mean, you've got a guy that's doing great so far with the running game. You pitch it off or throw it out to the side to Kalen LeBourne, who we saw even in Virginia game show some flash. That's what's got to be utilized a little bit more, in my opinion. But number one, if one-on-one is happening with Tamorrion Terry, give it to him. It worked last year, and I guarantee you it's got to work again. We saw a couple drops from him start the season, but he'll fix it. Give him one-on-one situation. That's where he knows everybody's looking at him. He'll perform the best then.
I think my issue with LeBourne is the fact that if you look in the Virginia game, when he gets his chance, he still has a little bit of hesitation. I don't know if he's just still concerned about the injury or whatnot. I think for me, the biggest thing I need to see is I need Cam Akers to, and I know it's easier said than done, I need him to have a game like he had against Louisiana Monroe. I need him to take charge of this offense. I think that I need Cam Akers to go out there, and I need him to take control and take some of the pressure off of James Blackman so that James Blackman doesn't feel like he has to go out there and dominate. And I think he needs to just take a deep breath. And I think Cam Akers needs to step up there. I'd like to also point out real quick all the Canes fans who are sitting here once again with their typical, 2001 greatest team ever. And living here in South Florida, every single time when I ask, why is the 2001 Canes the best team of all time? Oh, look at all the guys in the NFL. Great. What did they do at the University of Miami? I'm sorry, that was the University of Miami team that barely beat Virginia Tech. That was the University of Miami team that barely beat Boston College. Our closest game in the regular season was by 14 points against Boston College. Sorry, enough said. 2013 FSU would smoke 2001 Miami. Done. Mark it down. Let's move on. Oh, absolutely, Mark Rogers. You can hold up your TV. Oh, how crazy is Jason Parker from ShopChat.com? How crazy. If you're talking about in college, 2013 FSU smoked 2001 Miami by double digits. Mark it down. You heard it here.
Mark it down. There's nothing to prove it. We can mark it down, and
let me have my moment, Mark Rogers.
Next 5,000 years, because it's not going to be played, so nobody can prove anything.
On EA Sports,
say that 2013 Florida State team would beat Miami by 2 touchdowns is a bit ridiculous.
I said by double digits. That could be 10 points.
Okay, by 10 points. And as I like to point out, it depends on a lot of factors. If they would have played one time, anybody could beat anybody by 10 points. Most teams could beat most teams by 10 points on any given occasion. I would have to carve through those rosters, but off the top of my head, I certainly believe Miami was most likely the better team that played the better schedule, certainly. Florida State played in a weak, poor ACC. They played Duke in the ACC championship game.
Miami. Who did Miami play in the Big East in 2001? Rutgers, Temple, Boston College. Who did they play in the Big East?
You mentioned Virginia Tech.
Right.
Sure. We don't have time to go through it right now, but I can certainly match up those two teams.
Miami and Clemson were both in the top 7.
I really don't think that Auburn team that you played in the national championship, a very good team, obviously a very good team, but they basically had to luck into a national championship game on a kick 6, and you beat them by the narrowest of margins.
You obviously need some sleep, sir, because you're delusional. So let's get to these predictions so that you can go giving Camp Underwood material from Miami at 8 o'clock. Ohio State at 9. I believe it's Ohio State at 9 o'clock you have this week?
Ohio State at 9.
Ohio State at 9. So
you want to pick on some Ohio State teams? Were they awful too?
I mean, they got their butts kicked by Virginia Tech. I believe that was an ACC program, right, from the terrible ACC in 2014. Logan, let's predict the Louisville game. Go.
You're talking about a team that won the national championship. You realize that.
And Florida State would have smoked them too. Logan, let's predict the game. No.
That would not have happened. Okay, take it away.
Ezekiel Elliott would have gotten stopped by Timmy Jernigan and would have killed him. Go, Logan.
Let's see. I predicted – oops, sorry. There's a cat out of the way.
There's a cat walking across.
I'm going to go Florida State. I think Florida State does win this game. And I was kind of 50-50 on it all throughout the week. But I'm going to go Florida State does get the dub in Doak Campbell Stadium. I think James Blackman takes a step forward. I think he learns from his mistakes. And I think Levitt being there helps. I think that gives a nice positive. I don't know how dramatic it will be in just the short span of time he's been here. But I think a big thing that fans and also – people covering the team have seen there's guys that are in positions that they shouldn't be and they need to be moved around. And it seems like that's kind of what's going on during the week that start the practice. So I'm going to go Florida State. What did I say? I think I said Florida State 34, Louisville 28. And I think that's going to be going to bring Florida State to 2-2 in their first ACC win of the 2019 campaign. And I'd look I'd look to see. I'm trying to think of some guy that I think is going to show out, but I think a little bit of James Blackman and Tamarion Terry is going to connect well.
I am less confident about this game than I was had we been able to get the win against Virginia. That being said, my less confidence still has us winning because I think as much as Louisville, I think Louisville is a better team than they were last year. I am not sold on wins over, I believe it was Western Kentucky last week, and I'm sure it was Eastern Kentucky, I think the week before. I think they're winning the directional Kentucky games to start off the season. I like them at the start against Notre Dame. I'm not confident that that's the team that will show up this week. That being said, this is a huge game for FSU. FSU needs this game to basically save their season. If they win this game, there is hope of an 8-win season. There is hope of everything being able to turn around. If FSU does lose this game, I will be in panic mode for the rest of the season. But I am confident that FSU will come back to Tallahassee. I think they get a comfortable win. I'm going to say Florida State 34, Louisville 24. And I think they're 2-2 heading into what will then become the next most important game against NC State. So I'm going to say 34-24 Florida State.
Jason has already marked it down, so it's already in the history books. But regardless of that, I will remind everyone that they can get my Florida State Louisville prediction as well as the rest of my Week 4 college football predictions, the voice of college football community, in the link. So therefore, I'm going to predict the score between the 2001 Miami Hurricanes and the 2013 Florida State Seminoles next week. Maybe I'll do that next week.
41-21 Florida State.
I think it would be a great game. I'm not telling you, Jason, that Miami would win the game for sure, but I'm telling you that it would be a colossally great game.
Oh, it'd be a phenomenal game. My argument is that Florida State was the best college team that season. Miami had a great team of pros that went on to great NFL careers. But if you're talking about the college, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes college team versus the 2013 Florida State college team, 2013 FSU wins that game.
To really lay it out there, neither team faced the type of competition on a regular basis that I would have liked to seen them challenged with. But neither one. You're right. Miami played a crappy schedule too.
Florida State beat 2 ACC teams who were in the top 7, both Miami and Clemson, and being by 37 points and 27 points. That's all I'm saying to you if you want to compare schedules. Miami
was not a top 7 team. Clemson, I will give you that. They were legitimate. They won the Orange Bowl that year against an all-time great program, probably the greatest program in college football history.
I'm sorry.
But, the Miami team was not legitimate that year. They were not that good. They went like 7-6.
Wrap this up, Mark. Wrap it up, buddy.
He is Jason Parker from Chop Chat. He is Logan Robinson from An Old Game Day. I encourage you to expand on your knowledge of Florida State football and the rest of the ACC at their 2 respective sites. And please join us back here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, for more Florida State Seminoles live next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. But, of course, before you do that, you're going to join us in just a few seconds to talk, that program, the Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, I wonder if you're going to bring this up with Cam. I wonder if that's going to happen at all.
No, we're going to need to talk about Bethune-Cookman for 58 minutes. I'm sure that's going to take up our entire night.
I think what we should do for like whenever the Gator game comes and the Miami. Do you have guys that cover Florida, Mark?
Oh, we've got a vast network. Logan.
I was going to say you got to combine us all together.
They don't have electricity in Gainesville yet, so they can't talk.
Yeah, I think what we should do is combine us all together, and then that would be a grand. That would be you're looking at 500 viewers then.
I love it. I love it. I love it. See you guys soon.
Later, bud.
Appreciate it.
Adios.